I enrolled in a new school recently, and my first day is just tomorrow. I was getting excited until the principal sent me an email. It was titled First Day Rules. I opened them, intrigued to see how much they differed from my old school, if I could chew gum or leave at lunchtimes to get my own food. But no. These rules were completely different. The email went, "Good morning. It has come to my attention that it is your first day tomorrow, and I can't wait to welcome you here. But our school has a different set of rules for day one, as it does any other day. Number 1. Do not try to use a map to find your classes. You will get lost. Instead, follow the student in the green hat. He is your guide for the day. Rule 2. The student in the green hat will never talk to you, and you should never talk to him if you want to make it past this day. You don't want to know what happened to the last outgoing student. Rule 3. You are fine to talk to any other students, but if they try to talk to you about the tomorrow, run. Rule 4. Do not trust your eyes. If you see anything odd in your peripheral vision, then it isn't actually there. Rule 5. If the walls start to bleed, notify the janitor. He can be found next to the grandfather clock. Rule 6. When in class, sometimes the teacher might tell you to wait on them outside. Take your stuff and walk out, but if the hallway seems off, go to the classroom next door, because you didn't follow Rule 1 properly. Rule 7. Hopefully, after you've changed classrooms, you will be fine. But sadly, the majority of the time you still aren't. The only way to guarantee safety is to check the clock on the wall. If it has the numbers 1 to 12, then you're fine. But if it has any other different array of numbers, then inform the teacher, and if you're lucky, they will change the clock. Rule 8. Lunch will be served as a nice hot soup and chocolate bar, but when you sit down it will change. No matter what it changes to, if you value your eyesight, eat it all before lunch ends. Rule 9. As soon as 8th period starts, you want to run from the student with the green hat. This period is a game of hide and seek. He will give you a 5-minute head start, and you don't want to find out what happens if you lose. And finally, Rule 10. As soon as the final bell rings, do not rush to the same door you used to get into the building. Instead, find the nearest window and jump out. No matter the height, you will probably be fine. If you follow these rules, then you will be safe to come in for a normal day too. Remember, I am not in on the first day, so do not trust anyone who claims to be me. And do not show anyone these rules. Good luck. I couldn't get to sleep that night. I thought about telling my parents, but I didn't want to know what would happen if I disobeyed the rules. I thought of emailing the principal back, asking if this was some sort of sick joke. But at this point, I was too tired and managed to grab a couple hours of sleep. I woke up to my dad shouting for me. I slept through my alarm and only had 20 minutes to get ready. I showered, brushed my teeth, got dressed and ate my breakfast, just in time for the school bus to arrive. I got on the bus, put my headphones in and kept to myself on the way to school. Everything seemed normal for now. I got off a surprisingly quick bus journey for the distance and walked to the gate. I took a step inside and felt a shiver run down my spine. This is it, I thought to myself as I walked inside the halls. Then I saw him, the man with the green hat. I knew the principal wasn't joking now. He was about 7 foot tall and smelled like candy apples. I heard the bell ring, and that's when he started to move. He walked with purpose, like he knew I was following, even though he hadn't seen me. I made it to the first class in one piece. I sat down at the back as to not be noticed, but as soon as I sat, some friendly-looking boy with baby blue eyes next to me struck up a conversation. I remembered I was allowed to talk to people, so I talked to this charismatic man about my interests and what school I came from. We talked until the end of the period, and he made me think the principal was joking, until he turned to me right as the bell rang and asked, "What do you know about the tomorrow?" His smile distorted to show rows of teeth. He grew in size, almost to try block me from escaping. I looked around for help, but everyone didn't even seem to be fazed by this behavior. So, before he could do me any harm, I pulled on his hair, and whilst he was distracted, I ran to my next class. Periods 2, 3, 4, and 5 all went well, but which could be because I didn't mutter a peep. Then came lunch. I had 20 minutes to spare until it was my turn to eat, so I found a bench and tried to listen to music in peace. But it was as if the building didn't like that. I saw many things out of the corner of my eye, ranging from someone waving to me who wasn't actually there, to a kid performing what looked like a ritual with candles floating around him. My mind was now slowly turning against me, it seemed. Finally, after what felt like forever, it was my turn to eat. I got my soup and chocolate bar as promised, and sat down. As soon as I touched my seat, the food changed. The soup turned from a nice beige color to blood red. I tasted it, and sure enough, it had the metallic twang that human blood does. That's when I turned to my chocolate bar, still in the wrapper. I opened it to reveal what looked to be the same baby blue eyes from the friendly boy earlier. I nearly screamed, but I didn't want any more attention than I already had. So, I pretended everything was normal. I quickly gulped down the blood, so my eyes didn't end up like this poor boy's, and I pinched my nose whilst praying for forgiveness, and ate the eyes in one bite. They tasted oddly sweet. I then put my tray away, and waited for the bell while struggling to process what just happened. When the bell chimed to signal the next period, I couldn't find the man with the green hat anywhere. I asked many people, all of them claiming they have no clue what I'm talking about. So, I ran. I had to leave what could be my life up to chance. Chance that I picked the right door. I ran through the hallway until I thought I saw a thing of green through the door. I ran in and sat down silently, praying I got the right class. We got 10 minutes through the class with my guard slowly lowering, until I was apparently being disruptive and got asked to see the teacher outside. So, I packed my bag, walked outside and looked around. Everything seemed normal, until I noticed the roof was slowly closing in. I rubbed my eyes, thinking they were playing tricks on me, but they weren't. So I ran. I ran until I saw a door. I barged in, and the whole class looked at me. I stared at the nearest clock. I counted from 1 to 12 and let out a sigh of relief, knowing I was safe. For now. Finally, it came to period 7. I was still shaking. I followed Nameless Man to our next class, and it went by in a flash. I thought I was in the clear, until I remembered rule number 9. I had to hide, and quickly. I found the toilets and looked for anything to help. I saw some vents, so I opened it up and popped in. I crawled until I saw the main hallway underneath. I had made it about halfway through this game, until I saw a red liquid start to pour out of the walls. It was slowly filling up the corridors, yet no one seemed to notice. I looked around and saw the old, almost falling apart grandfather clock with an old man standing next to it. I had to sacrifice my hiding spot to tell him, but the halls were already ankle deep in blood, so I popped open the hatch and slowly found my way down. I saw the corridor he was in and quickly looked from side to side to see if it was clear. I ran down the hallway with my feet drenched in blood. I got to him and notified him of the problem. He thanked me and went into his closet to pick some items up. But I had made too much noise on this expedition. I knew I didn't have much time to hide. That's when I heard it. It started off with faint footsteps, but eventually turned into a full-on sprint with heavy breathing. It was him, the 7-foot-tall monster of a man. I should have ran quicker, but instead I was intrigued by his features. He had pitch-black eyes and holes where his nose and ears should be. What freaked me out most was when I looked at where his mouth should be, but instead was a patch of smooth skin, like his lips had been sewn together. With not much time left until he got to me, I turned and I ran. I ran faster than I ever knew I could. I spent the rest of this twisted game running at speeds I never knew I could achieve. I took a right, a left, and another right, until I saw a door leading to a class I could hide in. I ran down and tried to open the door. It wasn't a push or a pull. I turned around quickly to run back, but I saw him blocking the exit. He slowly walked over to me, every step getting louder and louder. He was taking his time, as if to taunt me. I screamed for help, but no one could hear me. That's when the bell rang. I cried tears of joy to have survived this horrid day. I ran to the doors marked exit, slammed them open, and jumped down the stairs. I ran as fast as I could to get to the gates, but then they slammed shut. I turned around confused to see the principal. I walked up to him and asked, "What's happening?" It was then that my body froze in place, as I remembered rule number 10. I had failed. I asked him what was going to happen to me. He didn't give me an answer, but I saw a shortened man with a green hat on. He came up to me and thanked me for freeing him. I was confused, until I started growing. I grew until I was 7 foot tall, and felt my nose and ears cave in on themselves, and my mouth seal over. It was then the principal finally talked. He muttered, "It's your turn now," while placing a green baseball hat on my head. I am able to regain consciousness over this body sometimes, but rarely able to control it for more than 5 minutes. I am now spending most of my life in the back seat of my own body, waiting for another poor soul to apply to this school. Hello, sinister listeners. If you've enjoyed this story, then you'll find all the author's information in the description below. For more content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to succumb to the sinister.